Hey everybody, it's Alana Yvonne from Truly Great Life, and welcome to 30 Ways to Happy Days. This is way number 3. I just want to say, if you have not seen way number 1 or way number 2, I highly encourage you to listen to those, only because they kind of are the foundation for the remaining videos that I will be creating. And it could be helpful just for having the context in which we're going to be talking about way number 3 and all the ways after. So for today, way number 3 is the character strength of love. Now, as I mentioned in the other videos, a lot of this stuff may seem obvious, and a lot of this stuff may be things that you already know. But the benefit of these videos, I think, is the reminder, because sometimes we know something, but that doesn't mean we live it out. Or we know something, but in the heat of the moment, we don't apply it. So my intention in sharing this information is for a reminder for myself, and also for you to go out and then use it in your life, in your relationships, in your goals, in whatever it is you have going on today and the next day and the next day, and see how that bumps you up towards happy days or happier days, or just kind of turns that dial a little bit more to where you want to be headed. All right, so let's start with, what is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Sorry, I might break out in song a couple times. That's just something I like to do. It's fun for me. And I will just jump in with saying, songs, music can be a fabulous way to kind of remind you of these character strengths. Love is obviously one of those, and it's also a positive emotion. It's one of the, and a value. Like, it's one of those things that we hear about. Probably 90% of songs are about love, unrequited love, love that left, love yearned for. So this is something I'm sure all of you are familiar with. But for the sake of having kind of a little bit of, beyond this idea of love, because we all might think different things about it, love is basically, according to positive psychology again, which is the lens I'm bringing in with these videos, it's basically the ability to love, to show love, and also the ability to receive love. Okay, so it's both the giving and the receiving. Okay, so it's an expressed emotion or quality of caring, of compassion, of warmth, okay, of deep affection or affection for someone, okay? So that would be like the simplest way to explain what love is. Some of us have experienced or think about love kind of in one way for a variety of reasons, where it's like, I need to get as much love as I can get. Love is something I need. We all need love, but love is something I have to be on the lookout for or make decisions in order to increase the likelihood of getting it. And that can come in a lot of forms. And then there's also those who kind of, are always or more likely to be giving. As long as I'm giving, as long as I'm serving, as long as I'm helping, as long as I'm doing, I will, show my love that way, but it might be a little harder to receive. And so the giving, ideally, you can also get the love. Okay, they're both important. In fact, something which I think is just super cool is, in Hebrew, the word for love is ahava, and the root for the word ahava is hav, which means to offer or to give. I thought that was pretty cool. So just a little fun fact there. Okay, so my first question for you is, how loving a person do you think you are? How much love do you show others, both in your more intimate relationships and those that are like, different degrees of separation? So I will jump into the different kinds of love, okay? Obviously, maybe one of the first things we think about, especially when it comes to songs, like I mentioned, is romantic love. It is, probably one of the kinds of love that people spend more energy either trying to find or trying to have or trying to maintain if they're already in a relationship. So that's one kind, right? That romantic, intimate kind of love. Then there's also familial love. So this is, for a parent and a child, let's say, or a grandparent or siblings. Obviously, all this stuff is fraught with complication, right? But there's the familial kind of love. So romantic, familial. And then you can have love of friendship. Okay? Love of friendship. Very real love. I don't know, what's coming to mind right now is I just saw the Return of the King, Lord of the Rings movie recently for some reason. And, the whole Frodo and Sam friendship is one example of a friend love, right? And friendship is a huge, important part of ways to share love and also receive love. And then there's also kind of a more universal love, right? You can call it like a love of mankind or humankind. You can call it a love maybe that you feel for a stranger or someone that you have a smaller interaction with or a less intimate interaction with. So let's say passing the same person on your walk every day, or seeing the same person. I tend to bring up coffee shops, but I like my coffee. So when you go to the coffee and if you build this relationship, obviously it's a very superficial kind of relationship. However, the research also shows that those more superficial, more less intimate interactions that we have also contribute to that feeling of love and that kind of micro level of love, or lowercase l. So you can have it with people at work, you can have it with people at school, this kind of, it gives a boost to your sense of giving love or receiving love. And that can be as simple as a kind word, a smile. How about eye contact? Bring back eye contact. It's incredible. I could even throw out there that maybe even manners in different interactions could be a sign of respect, which is one thing, but also just love. I honor that which is in you. Okay. So those are what's coming to mind right now. You have the romantic, the familial, the friendship, and then the more universal kind. And those kinds of love, I think it's helpful to think about, because not all of us have romantic relationships. Not all of us are getting romantic love at this moment. It may have eluded some of us, right? And also, or you may have romantic love, but not as much friendship love. And maybe you're estranged from family members. And so there's, not a lot of love there. Okay? Or maybe for whatever reason, most of your love giving and receiving is kind of at that higher level in terms of less deep relationships, right? Less intimate relationships, less vulnerable relationships. For a variety of reasons, there are those of us who are not able or ready or willing to go deep, okay, or to be vulnerable. So wherever you're at with your relationships, take a look at what you have in front of you right now in those different categories of relationships, and you can spend a few minutes thinking about, sometimes it's just easy to kind of quantify it for the sake of getting a little bit of insight, right? So on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is I am so satisfied with this kind of love in my life or this kind of relationship in my life, just rate them for yourself. My romantic relationships are a 10 out of 10, but my family relationships are kind of at a 3. Or my friendships are at a 10, but my family relationship, I keep saying family relationships. I love my family. Just, you understand what I'm saying. So, and then the last category is, sometimes my kids are like, why are you talking again to, the person taking your order? Mom, we got to go. They make a big joke about I was born in 19, blah, blah, blah. They kind of tease me for just engaging with people that there is no future relationship with necessarily, right? There is no why are you investing time? But for me, as having some extrovert tendencies, like that's fun, that's a connection. And so for me, using my strength of love in that way boosts my positive emotions, boosts my sense of connection with other people, and that fills my bucket for love, on a kind of a micro level. So, which ones kind of resonate with you as being maybe more important? Which ones do you want to try and play around with and see what happens when you give and see what you get in return? And even if it's just a kind of self-appreciation and a self-compassion and a self-love of like, I tried this and maybe it didn't go the way I thought it would. That could be maybe a conversation that you've been putting off with a loved one. Maybe it could be bringing up a topic that you've been averse to bringing, but out of that self-compassion place, right? So we can turn that character strength also into something that we apply to ourselves. So add that column for, self-love, not narcissism, not like my way or the highway, right? But like a healthy kind of self-compassion, self-respect, like where are you at on 1 to 10 there? Honoring what you feel called, to do in whatever it is for honoring where you're at, like that kind of love and respect for yourself. Okay, so those are different kinds of love. I think that was 5 of them now. So you can, take the time and see where you're at with each of them. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up, which you might be familiar with, is this idea of love languages, which is super fun. There's a lot, there are books out there which are very helpful. And is the author Chapman? I'm blanking out on the author's name. But there are the books for children and for teens and the at work and the original one. But basically the theory here is that people have different kinds of love languages that they primarily use and prefer. And we all might, similar to character strengths, how we have all 24 of them, but maybe some of them we use more than others. Love languages, like we all, you could say, have all of the love languages, but maybe we are like, we use more, 1 or 2 more than others. Those are like higher love languages for us. So I'll give an example. So first of all, the 5 of them, in case you're not familiar, is quality time, physical touch, gifts, receiving and giving gifts. What did I say? Words of affirmation and acts of service. Okay? I'm going to mess up the order now, but it was acts of service, words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch. What am I missing? Gifts. I think I got all 5. So I keep bringing up my kids as examples, but when I learned about this, it was like a light bulb went off because I have a very strong words of affirmation, love language preference. Okay, I'm wired that way or whatever. And my husband has like a very strong wiring towards acts of service. Those are 2 examples. So for someone who, was not aware of these different kinds, and again, this is like such an awesome way to appreciate differences in relationships that matter to you, right? Is that there's no need to judge someone's way necessarily of expressing love or their preference for receiving love. Ideally you get to a place where the person is also aware of your preference so that they can meet you where your preference is, but not to necessarily misinterpret what is an act of love through their love language, even if they're not aware of your love language. So it's much more expansive. It kind of opens it up. So realizing like acts of service, which was very nice, but to see it through the lens of love, looking through the eyes of love. I'm dating myself now, but like it's awesome. Looking through the eyes of love, okay? So love languages gives us an opportunity to look through the eyes of love. You can have conversations with, your loved ones about love languages and kind of have a discussion. And, it also just opens it up for greater understanding ways of showing love and receiving love. So different types of love and then different love languages. So if any of this is old hat. I hope this is a helpful reminder. And then the other thing I wanted to share about love is that there's a lot being talked about or written about this like epidemic of loneliness. And it's kind of heartbreaking, of course, to be in it. I would imagine that it's heartbreaking, and it's heartbreaking to hear about, because we are social creatures. We're not meant to be alone. Obviously, everyone's situation is individual and with history and backstory and complicated and all that. But I do feel like if we can increase our chances for getting what we want, okay, so whatever it is that you want when it comes to love, there are steps that can, like, just, loneliness is a real problem, and that can include the ability for us to reach out to someone if we think or know and it's desired, that connection, to help with that loneliness, right? And for the person experiencing loneliness to kind of, regardless of the reasons, can you open a little to trying things that may or may not, can you experiment to see how you can get maybe more of the love in your life that you may be desiring. If you don't desire it, then you're probably, not lonely to the point that you would like to be in some kind of loving relationship, whether it's familial, friend, just with other people, or romantic. So what I wanted to share here is that you have to give to get, right? And I know there's the saying, you cannot give from an empty cup. So wherever you're at and whatever it is for you, like, how can you fill that love bucket, that love battery, however you want to call it, so that you can then give as well. And if that means the baby step for today is getting out of the office, or if you're in an office, like a kind word or a smile, conversation with someone in the office or outside of the office on your way home, or if you work from home as I do, getting out of the house, and if you pass someone on the street, eye contact, good day, hello, how are you? If you go to a store or restaurant, same thing with anyone that you can interact there. And it's not about the result of like, oh, they said hi back, or now I have this new friend. Like, it's for the practice of putting yourself out there. It's for the practice of creating these potential micro moments of love, right? Like lowercase l. So I would encourage you to, to consider that as like a experiment for today. And if you're like, well, my other love buckets here are super full for romantic and for family and for friends, and like, what do I need that for? Like, that's fine. If you're feeling, it's about your satisfaction with each of those different kinds of love. So, for today, the way to happy days is sharing the love that you do have within you in whatever way that it feels good for you to share it, in a way that respects where the other person, of course, is at. But love is a big one. And, whatever routine you have when you get up in the morning, mine includes music. So if you like music too, think about what songs will put you in that mindset of love, as a good thing. I introduced one of my kids to Alanis Morissette yesterday, so that may not be the, maybe it will be the right song choice, but I tend to to lean heavy on like what my kids call cheesy music, 70s music, 80s music, but it's all good. Whatever works for you, whatever song, the environment that we put ourselves in with the media we consume, including music, can make a difference. So that, I think, is all I wanted to say at this point about love. And I hope it was helpful for you. And we will have a new way to happy days in the next video. So thank you for, sharing your time with me during this video. I appreciate that. I appreciate you creating space for what I have to share here about love. And so thank you for that. All right. See you next time.